The United States government once ran a secret program to control the human mind. Not in theory, not as a plan. They actually did it. They drugged soldiers without telling them. They experimented on prisoners, hospital patients, and ordinary citizens who had no idea what was happening to them. They funded experiments at 80 universities and research institutions across America. When they were caught, the director of the CIA ordered every single file destroyed. But they missed 20,000 documents. And what those documents revealed changed everything we thought we knew about how far the US government was willing to go. This is MKUltra, and it is not a conspiracy theory. Every fact in this video comes from declassified US government documents. To understand MKUltra, you have to understand where it came from. World War II had just ended. American intelligence discovered that Nazi scientists at Auschwitz and Dachau had been running experiments on prisoners, testing how drugs and extreme psychological methods could break a human mind and extract information. Instead of prosecuting all of these scientists, the CIA recruited them. Under a classified program called Operation Paperclip, over 1,600 Nazi scientists were secretly brought to America. Their research, conducted in concentration camps on people who had no choice, became the foundation of what the CIA was about to build. The Cold War was beginning. The CIA was terrified that the Soviet Union had developed methods to brainwash American soldiers and diplomats. They believed, with zero evidence, that the Soviets had already cracked mind control, and they decided America needed to catch up, whatever it took. In 1953, the CIA launched Project MKUltra. The man in charge was a chemist named Sidney Gottlieb. He would later be called the Poisoner-in-Chief. Gottlieb's mission was simple and terrifying. Find a way to control the human mind, to extract confessions from unwilling subjects, to make people do things they would never choose to do, to erase memories, to reprogram personalities. His budget was unlimited. His methods had no legal restrictions, and his subjects, in most cases, had no idea they were being experimented on. MKUltra ran over 150 separate subprojects. It involved 80 universities and research institutions. At least 44 colleges participated, 12 hospitals were involved, 3 prisons. And the CIA funded all of it through fake front organizations so nobody could trace the money back to them. The scale of this program is almost impossible to comprehend. It ran for 20 years. From 1953 to 1973, right in the middle of American life, hidden in plain sight. The centerpiece of MKUltra was LSD, a powerful hallucinogenic drug that had only just been discovered. Gottlieb became obsessed with it. He believed it could be the key to breaking down the human mind. In 1953, the CIA bought the entire global supply of LSD for $240,000, in today's money, over $4 million. They owned all of it, and they started using it. On soldiers, on prisoners, on mental health patients, on ordinary people who walked into bars and were secretly dosed by CIA agents. There was even a program called Operation Midnight Climax, where the CIA set up fake brothels in San Francisco and New York. They hired sex workers to lure men in, secretly dosed them with LSD, and CIA agents watched through one-way mirrors to observe the effects. One of the prisoners experimented on was Whitey Bulger, the infamous Boston crime boss. He was told he was participating in a study to find a cure for schizophrenia. He was given LSD every single day for more than a year. He later wrote, quote, "I was in prison for committing a crime, but they committed a greater crime on me." And here is the darkest irony of all. The CIA's LSD experiments accidentally helped create the 1960s counterculture. Ken Kesey, the author of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, first took LSD in a CIA-funded experiment. So did Robert Hunter, the lyricist for the Grateful Dead, Allen Ginsberg, the poet. The drug the CIA hoped would help them control humanity ended up fueling a generation determined to destroy everything the CIA stood for. The experiments weren't just happening in America. The CIA exported MKUltra to Canada. They recruited a Scottish psychiatrist named Dr. Donald Ewan Cameron, who was working at McGill University in Montreal. Cameron had a theory that he could cure mental illness by erasing a patient's existing memories and reprogramming their mind from scratch. He called it psychic driving. The CIA found this fascinating. They funded him secretly through a fake foundation, so there was no paper trail. What Cameron did to his patients is almost beyond description. He kept them in drug-induced sleep for weeks, sometimes months, at a time. He bombarded them with electroshock therapy at voltages 30 to 40 times higher than what was considered safe. He played recorded messages on loop for 16 hours a day, trying to replace their thoughts with new ones. These were people who had come to a hospital seeking help for depression, anxiety, and other conditions. Many of them left permanently damaged, unable to remember their own names, their childhoods, their families. The Canadian government funded part of these experiments. To this day, Canada has never officially apologized to the victims. By the early 1970s, MKUltra was winding down. Gottlieb himself later said the entire effort was useless. They never achieved real mind control. He shut the program down in 1972. But then, the Watergate scandal broke. Congress began investigating the CIA. Investigators started asking questions about secret programs. CIA Director Richard Helms did not wait to find out what they would discover. In 1973, he ordered every single MKUltra file to be destroyed. Every document, every record, every piece of evidence of what had been done to thousands of American and Canadian citizens. He almost succeeded. But one set of files had been misfiled in a financial records room outside Washington. They survived because nobody knew they were there. In 1977, a Freedom of Information Act request uncovered 20,000 documents. Congress held hearings. The American public found out what their government had done. The CIA director who ordered the destruction of the files, Richard Helms, was later convicted of lying to Congress about a different matter entirely. He was fined $2,000 and given a suspended sentence for ordering the destruction of evidence of 20 years of illegal human experimentation on American citizens. He was never charged with anything. The Senate hearings in 1977 were broadcast live on national television. Americans watched in horror as their government admitted to secretly drugging and psychologically torturing thousands of its own citizens. Some victims came forward. Many never knew what had been done to them. Because most of the files were destroyed, we still do not know the full number of people who were experimented on. We do not know how many died. We do not know the long-term effects on survivors. The evidence was gone. The CIA paid some settlements to victims. The Canadian government paid a small number of Cameron's patients. But no criminal charges were ever brought against anyone involved in MKUltra. Not Sidney Gottlieb, not the university researchers, not the doctors, not the CIA officials who approved the program. Nobody. Gottlieb retired to a small farm in Virginia. He built a log cabin. He became a hospice volunteer. He died in 1999, never prosecuted, never imprisoned, never publicly condemned by the government he served. In 2001, some surviving MKUltra information was declassified. More documents continue to emerge. But the most important records, the full scope of who was experimented on and what exactly was done to them, were burned in 1973. We will never fully know. MKUltra is not ancient history. It happened during the lifetimes of your parents and grandparents. The people who were experimented on, some of them are still alive today, still waiting for a full accounting of what was done to them. And the question that MKUltra raises, and that has never been fully answered, is this: if the US government was willing to do this to its own citizens in secret, what else was it willing to do? Forbidden Records is going to keep answering that question. Every video on this channel covers a chapter of US dark history that the powerful would prefer you never knew. If you want to know the truth, subscribe, because the next video covers something just as dark and just as real.